My name is Jess Morgan and my pronouns are they, them. I would describe myself as someone who is very community minded and really loves the arts and poetry. I really enjoy being connected to Duluth and being outside with my friends. I can be kind of a homebody sometimes, but I like going out on lots of adventures. So I'm pretty involved in the Duluth area and then kind of wander out from there. I've been president of the Duluth Poetry chapter for about 6 years or so. We've been a group that has a lot of different demographics involved in that space. I also have been doing the entertainment coordinating for the Duluth Superior Pride Festival for the last 4 years or so, which has been a really joyful experience of being able to encourage bands that are kind of starting out, as well as some that are really established, and just being in connection with those spaces. So I wrote a book called Too Many Hats because I juggle lots of different things. It's been kind of the process of really deepening my connection in different spaces and kind of finding the most reciprocal ways I can be involved in those spaces and really form connections and relationship, but then still maintain a sense of authenticity and sense of self. So I've kind of spread myself out to kind of maximize the amount that I could positively make an impact in many different zones. Certain walls and barriers to maybe doing some of the things that you feel most excited to do. So kind of spreading myself out has allowed myself to really maximize that impact. So I guess summary, I do a lot of DJing at the Flame in different community and at weddings. I do some amount of journalism. I am really involved in the poetry community, and that's my main art medium. I do some goat and farm sitting among some of my queer peers, which has been really cool. The way that I stay grounded while being involved in many different facets of the community is by having lots of ways to ground myself and participate in deep rest where I'm completely unplugged. I'm really grateful to live by Lake Superior where I can do that by the lake, but sometimes that means I'm piled on the couch with 4 friends while we do a crossword, or that means that I'm in a mosh pit throwing me and my friends around. I'm at a punk show. It helps to have just ways to kind of center and take care of my nervous system while running around, otherwise things get a little bit wonky. I also have a practice of deep listening as studied through Pauline Oliveros, and I hold sessions for that at a place called Water Stop periodically, and they're all improv, meditation, kind of music, experimental exercises, and that always ends up being really joyful and really grounding. Lately, queer joy for me has been focusing really well on the things that I am doing well and that my friends are doing well, and then participating in deep rest in some way. So it's really awesome to be really involved in community, but it's also nice to just run into the woods and take a nap next to the little waterfall. I think that it also is nice to find joy in the small things that we're able to do, as well as some of the larger things too. Sometimes queer joy is putting small braids in my hair while I go out and kind of wearing armor one day and feeling really good about my outfit. And then other days it's self-advocacy and good boundaries, spaces that maybe I'm not being held as well. I think what I love most about myself is that I always find small things to kind of find comfort in and to kind of keep moving and pushing forward. And I think that I like how community minded that I am. I think that I like that I'm good at both offering and asking for help, and that I care a lot about accountability and reciprocity. I really like that I am creative, and I kind of like to get my hands on whatever kind of things that I can work with, and that within that creativity I care a lot about collaboration, so what I can kind of share with other people, or maybe there's some things that myself and someone can grow on with the same project. And I think that mutual growth and deep connection within an arts project is really, really special. I think that building collective belonging and collaboration requires deep connection with people. I think it requires some amount of consistency sometimes. And something that I appreciate about being in Duluth is that it's kind of like a big city and a small town simultaneously, where there's a lot of spaces that when you're in Duluth you get very familiar with, because there's only so many of those spaces. So I think that building community requires showing up over and over again, taking small steps to build respect or trust with other people, and kind of building collaboration at the pace that feels comfortable for both people, versus trying to be so focused on the end result or the project that you're not paying attention attention to like the present moment. Liberation looks like one where things aren't as fragmented and more people are able to bring their full selves into spaces and have space for wellness. I think there's a lot of systemic things that would be present in a world in which we're liberated. I think we'd have secure housing and healthcare in addition to a social environment that holds spaces for us well. Ones where we go into spaces and there are checks about like pronouns and what preferences people have versus making a lot of assumptions. But I think that there's a lot of both grassroots but then external structures. I think a lot of the time it feels like there's a structure we have to work within and then the ones we're building constantly. And I think liberation would look like having to not have to carve out every single space, but there's more spaces integrated into our social, economic, and political structure for everyone to be well. I think that Duluth is building a lot of structures for thriving in different pockets, and I think some of those spaces are like physical buildings and businesses. Some of them are webs of people. I really like spending a lot of time at Studio Cafe where they have free art supplies, but they consistently make their backspace available for artists and queer people to do art installations or gather for book clubs, or the poetry group that I host meets there. So it really helps to have businesses that create rooms and spaces for people to gather and to do the things that they're excited to do. And I think some of the other places in Duluth are even just small, like family webs. There's a friend of mine named Claire Bransky who does a lot of different community organizing, but also holds Tuesday skill shares where everybody does dinner together. Maybe their skill shares like learning how to make go bags, or maybe it's like here's some meditation practices, or maybe it's like more silly and fun that week. But having like a consistent spot to share like mutual aid needs, as well as just kind of exist and share a meal together, is a really cool pillar. That the goal that Claire has shared is that there's like many pockets in Duluth that are all kind of doing that, and they're all kind of slightly in community with each other as it makes sense. So I think that mutual aid and art often go really hand in hand. I think that people just have an organic need to connect with people, and art offers an ability to do that and fulfill that need while also sometimes providing some amount of care too. So there's been punk shows that have helped raise funds for medical bills, and that's been really cool to see. Those types of ways of sharing resources can be really, really huge and can help kind of lift each other up. And I think that there's like a human need to participate in art, and those things just pair really well together to get something done. But then it also can help you connect with other people that you might form webs of care with. So I think you need to be able to have maybe meeting spaces before you kind of start to meet other people that are maybe participating in mutual aid. I think when it comes to building webs of mutual care and protection, I think it's good to be able to recognize your own needs that you have in your nervous system, so that you know kind of the things that you yourself need in that moment to look for, and then to find spaces where maybe you can have those needs met. Or if you don't see those needs met, maybe you can put an ask out, or you can start an event. If you are like, hey, there aren't enough events where maybe people aren't drinking and making art together, you can go and you can create an event like that, or see if there's among your connections a way to do that. But I think being able to recognize the things that you need is a really important step in being able to do some of that grounding work. And then I think other ways that it's possible to create those webs is just by kind of putting yourself out there, finding places to meet other people, going to arts events, going to different community events that allow you to make those first connections, and then reaching out from there. I think sometimes we get kind of shy and nervous that, oh, like, I don't know if this person's going to be excited enough or interested enough. Sometimes you got to throw spaghetti on the wall, try a bunch of different things, get your hands at different stuff, and then just see what builds from there. I think something that's really important to learn is that not every space has to feel good. It's not always necessary to shrink yourself or to have to educate people or for every single art submission or every space to be one that you have to be involved in. And it's nice to do those things when you're able to, when you feel up to it, but it's okay to go into a space and say, actually, that didn't feel good for me. I don't know if I felt the way that I want to in that space. It's nice to have discussions when people are open to them, but sometimes it's nice to just be like, but this space feels really good, and to start building the things that you want to from there. I think that starting from a place where you're able to be comfortable and connected to people and kind of grow in those spaces and look for those bright spots is an okay place to start, versus focusing on some of those spaces that aren't quite right, or you feel like you have to crumple up in order to exist there, or try really, really hard in order to be accepted. Sometimes that can kind of work, but it's okay to just give yourself permission to not force yourself to be in a space that doesn't feel right.